Order, please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For the purpose of the minutes, Commissioner Dye will not be in attendance today, and we did have an executive session prior to this meeting to discuss any litigation or personal matters. Consideration of the March 14th, 2022 board meeting minutes and motion to accept. So moved.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passing. We'll move on to the CEO's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. As briefly discussed in the executive session, we continue to work with our three customer communities, Whiting, Highland, and Griffith, in getting to our new amendments to the current contracts. And I'm happy to say that we are slowly inching forward. So there is positive progress, not as quickly as I'd like, but at least it's positive progress. We had one little stumbling block with Whiting because we're real close to signing that in a term that happened to be in the contract that could be interpreted several different ways. So Joe was on the phone with corporate counsel from Whiting along with Jeff and a couple of other folks. And I think we're going to have that worked out to make everybody comfortable and happy. So I will project that the Whiting amendment to their contract should be finished no later than by the end of the coming month of April. Highland and Griffith, very optimistic. I remember having a conversation with the mayor a few months ago that I projected it would be March. Unfortunately, that's probably not going to happen. But once again, with those two communities, the issues are far greater than they were with Whiting. So one would think that trying to get those issues worked out and slightly different for each of the two communities are going to take a much longer time than Whiting was. So, but we're moving in the right direction. So I'm happy to report on that. I'll take any questions.
Marty, when you started working with the three customer communities, I was fortunate enough to be in some of those meetings. I didn't have gray hair.
It has been a while. There's no doubt about it. But I think if you look back at all the years when we started this, including the court cases in the Indiana Supreme Court, I think that the reasons that we moved forward as a board back then, and as a board today, we see the results and the positive decisions that were made all that time ago, because we were up against all odds way back then when we started this process. And I look at where we are today and finally getting very close to getting to where we had hoped we wanted to be all those years ago. So I'm very happy about that, and happy for the board's resilience and support from the administration, good legal teams that we've had, because no one stopped fighting, and sometimes you have to continue to fight to get to where you need to be, and we're really close right now, very close.
It's great.
Other than that, I have nothing else to report, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Any final questions from Marty? Thank you. We will move on to the consultant reports next. Mike Hickey, please.
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, IDEM reached out to me last week. They wanted to set up a meeting between HSD and me just to talk about disinfection at the CSO basin. So I'm in the process of setting that up with IDEM and with Jeff, and that's all I've got to report if there's any questions.
Thanks, Mike. Any questions for Mike? Thank you very much.
Sure.
All right, we'll move on. Bank reconciliation document dated February 28, 2023.
So
Motion to-
there's a second one,
Yes.
due to I had to add a new bank account that we opened at Old National that I didn't have online. So I received the statement after we had presented the last bank reconciliation. It was for $0, so it doesn't make a monetary.
That's what this is.
That's probably why you put the bank statement on there, because we didn't have anything else to document for that one.
Great. So do we need a motion? Yes. Sorry.
To accept it.
Yes, that one has to be.
Thank you. Second. Your motion is second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next is the claims approval docket, 03-28-23. Motion to approve. Second.
Second.
We have a motion and second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Old business. Let's see if we have any, do we have any old business today?
The only thing I'll bring up, Mr. President, I'm working with Joe and Sharon Zaney and Rachel on, we had talked about years ago. Establishing an education fund here from the district for district employees. We're going to model it after the city of Hammond's educational fund. We're looking to fund it at the amount of about $50,000 a year. Various increments, 3,000 being probably the highest somebody can apply for on a yearly basis. But it has to be directly related to what we do here at the plant. I can't have an employee say, oh, I'd like to get my pilot's license, and so that's never gonna happen. So I think it's healthy to do that, and I think in an environment where we're constantly trying to figure out how to retain employees, that's just one extra level that gives us that opportunity on the benefit side. So I think that's something that I hope the board would agree. We'll have to do that with a resolution. And then we'll put a plan together that we'll present on how we plan on running the program. One interesting note that I learned the other day on almost the same subject, when we look at retention of employees, because we know that we can't always give it in dollars, because there's a limit to where we have budgetarily, how much we have to charge, how much revenue we take in. I learned from a company last week that they have become creative to try to have employee retention. And one of the things that they said was they offered the premiums that the employee was paying their portion of insurance, that depending on the number of years that the employee had, that would eventually get down to zero on their participation. And I said, well, let me do the numbers. Actually, the numbers made sense. So if you looked at a group of 100 employees that you are trying to retain, and you have now somebody who says, hey, I'm got an offer to go to XYZ for another $2 an hour, because that's where we're kind of fighting. If you just did the multiplication across the board on what that would cost with the benefits and everything that adds to that $2, perf and everything else, it kind of made sense that maybe if we run into that, that's other areas we can look at for employee retention, that the premiums that they would have to pay right now. What is our individual premium per employee
30 for single and 60 for family per pay.
per pay? Pretty low
That's way.
with a lot of coverage. Imagine in the mindset of an employee that said, hey, my premium goes down. I don't have to pay anything. I got all my health insurance covered. It's part of that program, that those benefits that I keep telling us when somebody says, hey, the mill's going to steal me away. I'm going to make $4 more an hour. Okay, what are your benefits? Well, pretty good benefits. Your premiums for insurance a little higher, but are you going to be working all year long? And if you are, for how many years? Because they're known to hire a bunch of people on a project, and as soon as that project's done, they lay everybody off. So then what are you gonna do? So I have talked to our department heads that if we have employees that are saying, hey, I'm leaving because this guy's offered me, I want to talk to them. Because I want to make sure they understand truly what they have here at the district. And truly what my feeling is, what they're walking into outside, because the grass is always greener on the other side. And I want to be able to have, because the environment that we're in today with people who we talked about don't want to work, never have any inkling of want to ever go back. So that 7 million is the number they're taunting at the age between 25 and 45. Men particularly have no desire to go back to work. So now they kind of understanding the glut, where all these people go, or they're here, they just sitting at home. How they're supporting themselves, I have no idea. But the point is that I think we have to become more creative because it can't always be dollar for dollar matching. It's impossible. And to me, it's a dead end because where does it stop? You know, so I'm just bringing that out for general, discussion. Because I think for what I need to do, working with Rachel, we have to look at other things to make it desirable to stay here as compared to what the outside may be trying to draw them away.
I think one of the things too that you have to look at, Marty, is career architecture. Where is the plan for someone coming in? Where are they going? What's in, the next 1 to 2 years, the next 3 to 5 years? What is that architectural structure look like for them? To have someone that says, I know that by doing this, accomplishing this, this is where I'm headed, and this is where I see a future with this company for me. Because if people are coming in and they don't see that, and they're not having those regular conversations, those kind of one-on-one development and opportunities for a future, that's where they're like, okay, if I'm just in the same job for 5 years, what am I doing? So.
Yeah, that's a good point, Commissioner, and we've addressed that, and that's another thing that I'm going to be getting actively involved with Rachel on the newer employees that have been here less than 3 years. Because we have different levels of certification, class 1, class 2, class 3, class 4. When you get to the class 4, which is available to every single employee in this plan, it's an added, how much a year?
10, well, it's 10.50 an hour.
10.50 an hour and total yearly of how many, 20, 30,000 extra dollars.
Yeah, 21,000 a year.
That's a pretty nice incentive for an employee. So it gets back to what you're talking about. What we've seen recently is the mill, who has gotten extremely aggressive, where that they're kind of appealing to someone who's been here 10, 11 years. So they're already kind of vested, or are we vested at 15? Is it 10 or 15?
10.
10, that's what I thought. So that employee said, hey, I'm already vested here. I can go make another $3, $4 an hour, and I'm only in my mid to late 20s, maybe in my early 30s. That's what's kind of catching us. Now, we don't have a true problem with it, but I kind of look into the future because I know the job market is going to continually get harder for the employer. I mean, look at what Chicago just now, what the state of Illinois just does. Any employee in the state of Illinois who works 40 hours a week can get 2 weeks off for any reason paid. I don't know how those employers are going to manage that, but that's right next door. So I've always believed trying to look as far in the future as we can to look at ideas and possibilities and solutions to address those type of questions before they become a question that's asked to me today from somebody that works for me here at the plant today. So we're really aggressive and proactive on that. And I've always believed that raising and competing with the salaries and the hourly is not the answer. It is not the answer because it can only go so far until it starts to strangle the entity internally because it just doesn't have the revenue to make it all work. And I get that. Rachel gets that. And I think, Commissioner Hawkins, I know you for a fact, I sat on that same time at the table all those years ago. We looked through the financial statement and said, we run out of black ink. So we've come a full circle all those years. And so we're very prepared to look at that. I've known that I speak a lot out, and I'm going to start speaking more at schools because there's golden opportunity, especially in this environment, that to tell every one of those high school seniors that you'll never be anybody unless you get a college degree is not true. It may be true for some, but not all. And we're one of those options because you can come here, and I've seen people spend 30 years here, retire, make a great amount of money, support a family, have a house, and the greatest benefits that I know of that no industry can compare to. Really, And that's what we need to remind them on a regular basis that, it's the whole package. So when we talk about, oh, somebody's offered me 3, let's look at the whole package. Let's compare, I've heard from somebody, apples to apples. Make sure you're looking at all of what we do. So, just out there for conversation. That's all I
think
have.
It's a great idea to talk to them, that you talk to them before they decide to really jump ship.
Yes.
You understand? All right, thanks for that. Anything else in our old business for right now? We'll go to new business. I don't have any new business. Okay. Any reports from commissioners? Any public expression?
Only to say that I'm sad to see it at the end of the meeting. Again.
So now we will end it with a motion for adjournment.
So moved. Second,
I do that.
Signify by saying aye.
aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay.
Aye, aye.
Motion passed.